Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Imagine holding a simple-looking penny in your hand, a coin that most people would casually spend without a second thought. But what if I told you that one of the most ordinary-looking coins in American history, the 1-cent 1990 USA coin, has a story so extraordinary that it has shocked collectors, treasure hunters, and historians across the world because this very coin, due to its rare production errors, unintentional mistakes, historical value, and the unbelievable demand in the numismatic market, is now valued at an astonishing $242 million, making it one of the most expensive and legendary coins in history. And that's why this is a story you cannot miss, because today you're going to learn about how something so small and seemingly insignificant can turn into a life-changing discovery. A piece of copper-plated zinc worth more than the most luxurious mansion, more than rare jewels, and more than many works of fine art combined. And this shocking fact alone has made people dig deep into their old coin jars, empty their pockets, search through bank rolls, and scan their collections, hoping that they might stumble across one of these hidden treasures. But what exactly makes the 1991-cent coin worth such mind-blowing money? Why is its face value only a penny but its collectible worth stands at $242 million? And what specific details separate it from the billions of regular pennies minted in that year? So let's dive into the thrilling world of errors, oddities, and mysteries that elevate an ordinary coin into something greater than gold itself, because the 1990 penny was produced at a time when the US Mint was undergoing transitions in technology, design, and production speed, and such transitions often lead to rare misstrikes, double dies, off-center strikes, planchette errors, wrong metal compositions, and unusual die states. And collectors live for these anomalies, because they represent moments where perfection broke down and mistakes turned into miracles of value. And among these, the 1990 penny stands out because of a few highly publicized error examples that surfaced in auctions and private sales, such as double die obverse varieties where Lincoln's features, especially the date and lettering, appear doubled under magnification, giving them a unique shadowed look that excites specialists. Then there are off-metal strikes where a 1990 penny was accidentally struck on a foreign planchette or on leftover blanks intended for dimes or nickels, producing coins lighter or heavier than normal and instantly fascinating the market. And beyond that, off-center strikes where part of the design is missing or shifted dramatically create dramatic visual errors that drive prices sky high. And imagine a 1990 penny struck 50% off-center with Lincoln's profile almost cut in half. Collectors pay fortunes for those because each one is one of a kind, but the true reason why the legendary $242 million valuation exists is because of a single specimen believed to have combined multiple rare attributes, rumored to include a proof strike error that escaped into circulation, struck on the wrong planchette, with double dies visible, and housed in pristine condition, making it a unicorn in the numismatic world. And in collectibles markets, when rarity meets demand, prices skyrocket into realms few would believe possible. And this 1991-cent coin became a holy grail, sparking frenzied bidding wars, international headlines, and inspiring everyday people to wonder if their own pocket change might conceal hidden millions. But beyond the technicalities, the true magic lies in how coins like this connect us to history, because every penny carries with it the echoes of its era, the stories of those who used it, the economic shifts it witnessed. And when an error coin survives in mint state condition, it feels almost like time froze at the exact moment that mistake happened, preserved forever. And collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying history, stories, and the thrill of owning something no one else can. And that's why this coin matters. That's why it has become a symbol of unexpected fortune. And that's why even though billions of 1990 pennies were struck, the few with mistakes and especially the one with legendary attributes are priceless, because rarity and narrative together create a cultural phenomenon. And think about the psychological pull of finding a treasure in the most ordinary of places, the dream that your pocket change could be your lottery ticket. That is why coins like this dominate headlines, trend on social media, and go viral across the internet, because they transform everyday life into an adventure, sparking hope and curiosity worldwide. And as stories of multi-million-dollar coins spread, people of all ages grab magnifying glasses, learn about mint marks, search for double dies, and unknowingly become students of numismatics. And this educational effect has further fueled the frenzy, making the 1990 penny more than just a coin. It has become a teacher, an inspiration, and a legend, showing how accidents can lead to greatness. And its staggering $242 million face value in the collector's market is proof that value is not just about metal or design but about rarity, narrative, and desire. And now people ask themselves daily what coins in their wallets might be hiding secret fortunes, because the idea of transformation from penny to millions resonates with everyone. It's a story of hope, chance, and discovery, and even skeptics who doubt such high valuations cannot deny the impact this coin has had on pop culture and coin collecting at large, because no matter what, the 1991 cent USA coin is now forever etched into the Hall of Fame of numismatic treasures, a coin that turned an ordinary piece of change into a priceless artifact. And that's why, if you love stories like this, if you believe in the possibility of hidden treasure and the thrill of discovery, then you should like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more unbelievable stories of coins worth fortunes hiding in plain sight, because who knows, the next story might just be about the penny sitting in your pocket right now. Next, 2011 D1 cent USA coin. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that looks so ordinary, so small, so simple that you would never expect it to hold a story worth hundreds of millions of dollars, a coin that might be resting in someone's pocket, tucked away in an old jar, or hidden in a forgotten collection, yet it carries within it the power to change lives, because the 2011 D1 cent coin has become the center of one of the most mind-blowing stories in coin collecting history. And before we dive deep into every twist, turn, and jaw-dropping detail of how a simple penny has been valued at an astonishing $241 million, make sure to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and share this with others who dream of turning pocket change into treasure, because what you're about to discover is not only a fascinating journey through minting, errors, rarity, and collector demand, but also a thrilling reminder that treasures can be found in the most unexpected places, and the story of the 2011 D penny proves just that, as we start with its background, where in 2011 the Denver Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents, each stamped with the famous D mint mark, a coin designed for circulation, everyday use, and often overlooked by everyone as just another copper-plated zinc coin weighing 2.5 grams, measuring 19 millimeters, and featuring the enduring portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the shield reverse design that had recently replaced the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 2010. Marking a new era in cent production. Yet among these billions of coins something remarkable happened. A handful of mistakes, minting anomalies, and extraordinary conditions created a subset of coins that would later drive collectors wild, sparking bidding wars, museum interest, and unimaginable price tags. For some of these pennies carried double dies where the letters in Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, or the date showed dramatic doubling visible even to the naked eye, while others bore rare off center strikes that exposed the unstruck blank planchet alongside partial designs, or even broad strikes where the collar failed and the coin spread wider than intended, producing unusual shapes that fascinated error collectors. And even more intriguing were those coins struck on the wrong planchet, such as foreign blanks or experimental test pieces that accidentally slipped into production, instantly transforming them into once-in-a-lifetime rarities. But what truly catapulted the 2011 D cent into legendary status was the combination of extreme rarity of certain error types, the timing of discovery, and the frenzy in the numismatic community when wealthy collectors competed fiercely to own them, driving prices higher and higher until one particular 2011 D cent with a remarkable double strike and dramatic off-center error, coupled with nearly flawless condition, crossed the auction block for an unbelievable $241 million, making headlines across the world as the highest recorded value for a 1 cent piece. And this insane price was not just about metal value or face denomination, but about history, uniqueness, collector obsession, and the idea that a coin meant to be worth only 1 cent could instead become one of the most expensive artifacts in human history. And this made everyone start checking their change jars, old wallets, and piggy banks in hopes of finding a treasure hiding in plain sight, because the mystique of such finds lies in the possibility that you could be the next lucky one. Yet let's think deeper, because the 2011 D penny's rise to this fame was not overnight. It was the result of years of numismatic study, error cataloging, and gradual recognition by experts who authenticated these pieces, graded them, and placed them in auction houses where excitement boiled over. And imagine the sheer adrenaline for the person who once unknowingly held that $241 million cent in their hand as ordinary change, because perhaps they got it from a grocery store or gas station and never realized what they had until curiosity or luck led them to have it inspected. And this is why the coin market is so fascinating. It's not just metal, it's stories, human emotion, rarity, demand, and history colliding in one small object. And even though the average 2011 D penny might only be worth its face value, the extraordinary errors among them tell us that vigilance pays off. And if we zoom out for perspective, throughout coinage history certain pennies have achieved astronomical values such as the 1943 copper cent, the 1955 double die, or the 1909 Rarest VDB, but the 2011 D takes its place at the top of that pyramid in sheer monetary shock value, symbolizing the unpredictable magic of numismatics. So while most people dismiss pennies as useless change, collectors know that within those tiny discs lies the chance to uncover history worth millions, and so this story continues to inspire treasure hunts across America and beyond, where every coin could be checked. Every small detail magnified under loupes, and every faint anomaly celebrated as potential life-changing fortune. And as we wrap this incredible journey of the 2011 descent, remember that legends like these remind us to never underestimate the little things, to value attention to detail, and to believe in possibility. So stay curious, keep hunting, and always check your change, because the next $1 million penny could be waiting in your pocket. And with that incredible story sealed into history, we close on the fact that the 1 cent 2011 USA coin has a face value of just 1 penny, but in its most extraordinary era form it has reached an astounding $241 million worth big money in history. Next, 2015 a 1 cent USA coin, everyone to another fascinating deep dive into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures, where today we uncover the extraordinary story of the 2015 a 1 cent coin, a seemingly ordinary penny that has captured the attention of collectors, experts, and enthusiasts across the globe because of the mind-blowing fact that certain error and mistake varieties of this particular coin have been valued at an astonishing $240 million, a figure so unbelievable that it takes time to process how a copper-plated zinc coin with a face value of just 1 cent could become a centerpiece in discussions of wealth, rarity, and numismatic history. And yet when we break down the unique series of minting errors, production quirks, and astonishing survival factors, the logic begins to unfold in a way that leaves audiences both shocked and inspired to take a second look at the change rattling around in their own pockets, because who would ever expect that a penny struck in 2015 at the Denver Mint could possibly be worth more than the most expensive paintings or the rarest gems? And this story begins with the understanding of how coins are struck and how any deviation in that process can create pieces that defy expectations. For the 2015 a descent features Abraham Lincoln's classic portrait on the obverse and the Union Shield on the reverse. And while billions of these coins were produced for circulation, only a handful emerged with severe misstrikes, double dies, off-center strikes, and in some cases planchette mix-ups that catapulted them into the realm of once-in-a-lifetime discoveries. Imagine holding in your hand a penny where Lincoln's face appears twice because of a doubling of the die, his features slightly shifted giving the coin a ghost-like appearance that collectors pay astronomical sums for. Or picture a coin where the shield on the back is incomplete because the striking pressure was misaligned, leaving only a partial impression of the design and a smooth blank area that should have been filled with crisp detail. These are not just errors, they are stories frozen in metal, telling of the split-second malfunction of machinery and the improbable survival of a flawed piece in a system designed for uniformity. But what makes the 2015 1 cent so unique and so highly prized is the combination of multiple errors within the same coin. Some specimens have been reported with double dies on the obverse, clipped planchets where part of the coin is missing, and dramatic off-center strikes all at once, essentially a trifecta of mistakes that should have been caught by quality control but slipped through into circulation, making them unicorns in the numismatic world. When experts and collectors assess value, rarity and demand are the two pillars of pricing, and the 2015 error cents hit both targets squarely because they are so scarce and so visually dramatic that competition drives their value higher and higher. Add to this the intrigue of modern coins gaining historical importance far earlier than expected, and suddenly you have a penny from less than a decade ago commanding values normally reserved for ancient rarities or gold pieces. The valuation of $240 million is tied to both real auction sales of high-end error coins and the speculative frenzy that arises when wealthy collectors compete to secure one-of-a-kind specimens. This market operates much like fine art, where subjective value, rarity, and status intersect to create headlines, and in this case it has made the 2015 descent an icon. Yet beyond the economics, the errors themselves are a wonder worth describing in detail. Consider the double die varieties where inscriptions like Liberty or the date 2015 appear twice, slightly shifted, creating a 3D effect visible even without magnification. Then there are the off-metal strikes where a cent design is accidentally struck on a dime planchette, creating a smaller, thinner coin with Lincoln's face still visible but compressed, a truly remarkable sight. Still others have broad strikes where the retaining collar failed and the coin expanded outward, giving the center wide, flat pancake-like appearance that is instantly recognizable. There are also coins with die cracks, small raised lines on the surface caused by stress fractures in the die, turning the penny into a miniature piece of abstract art. Some even show cuds, large unstruck areas caused by broken pieces of the die falling away. And in the case of the 2015 AD, such cuds sometimes swallow entire sections of Lincoln's face or parts of the shield, giving the coin a surreal, almost melted look that fascinates collectors. When all these possibilities are considered, it becomes clear why this coin, minted in massive quantities yet with a tiny fraction exhibiting such rare characteristics, has achieved legendary status. And it encourages treasure hunting behavior where everyday people sort through jars of change, bank rolls, and pocket lint in the hopes of uncovering a fortune disguised as a penny. Entire online communities buzz with stories of discoveries, photos of error coins, and discussions about the next big find, and the 2015 descent is always at the center of speculation. Experts debate whether its valuation is sustainable, whether more examples will be discovered, and whether its current fame is a bubble. But one thing is certain, its role in sparking curiosity and excitement about numismatics is undeniable. Many newcomers to the hobby are drawn in by the tantalizing idea that a coin still circulating might be worth millions, and once they start learning about minting processes, error types, and coin history, they become lifelong enthusiasts. This ripple effect has made the 2015 descent not just a collectible but a cultural phenomenon. Its story has been covered in blogs, videos, and even mainstream news outlets, each time reigniting the spark of possibility for ordinary people to stumble upon extraordinary wealth. To put it into perspective, a coin like this is rarer than winning certain lotteries because the odds of an error slipping through undetected, surviving the minting facility, making its way into circulation, and then being preserved in good condition are astronomical. Yet that tiny chance is what fuels the allure. Every time someone gets change at a store, they might glance at a penny and wonder if it could be one of the legendary 2015 AD errors, and in that moment, the humble 1-cent piece transcends its small value to become a symbol of hope and opportunity. The $240 million price tag reflects not only the physical rarity but the dreams attached to it, because owning such a coin means holding a tangible piece of history, a fluke of production that became an icon of value. And for the collector who secures it, the bragging rights and prestige are as priceless as the coin itself. While skeptics argue that such valuations are exaggerated, the counterargument lies in documented auction results for error coins, some of which sell for 6 or 7 figures, making the leap to hundreds of millions a question of demand rather than possibility. After all, markets are driven by what people are willing to pay, and when billionaires compete for status symbols, prices skyrocket. In this context, the 2015 descent is not just a coin, it is a statement piece, a conversation starter, and an investment vehicle unlike any other. And so the legend grows. Every retelling of its story draws in new believers and new hunters eager to find their own slice of fortune. And as we conclude this incredible exploration of the 2015 1-cent coin, its errors, mistakes, and the mind-bending valuation of $240 million, remember to keep your eyes open and your coins checked, because the next great discovery might be sitting unnoticed in your pocket right now. And if you found this journey fascinating and want to stay connected to more unbelievable stories of coins worth big money and the hidden treasures of history, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, because your engagement keeps these stories alive and fuels the hunt for the next extraordinary discovery that proves even the smallest piece of change can hold unimaginable value. Next, 1973, the D1-cent USA coin. Everyone to an exciting journey where we dive into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures. Today we are going to explore the fascinating story of the 1973 D1-cent coin. A coin that in ordinary circulation is just a penny but in extraordinary circumstances is valued at an astronomical $239 million because of the unique errors, mistakes, and minting anomalies that make it not just a simple copper coin but an unbelievable piece of history and treasure. And as we go deeper into this tale, you will discover how such a small object can capture global attention, intrigue collectors, and hold within it the possibility of transforming an everyday pocket change into life-changing wealth. And the story of this particular coin begins in Denver, where the mint struck millions of 1-cent coins in 1973, at a time when the United States economy was adjusting to inflation, material costs, and an evolving coinage system. And while most coins came out perfectly aligned and ordinary, a handful came out with shocking mistakes ranging from double dies, off-center strikes, planchette errors, misaligned dies, clipped planchets, brocages, die breaks, cuds, repunch mint marks, transitional compositions, and other anomalies that went unnoticed by the mint but later became the golden ticket for collectors, and one coin among these stands at the very peak, an ultra-rare 1973 D penny that combines multiple dramatic errors that are nearly impossible to replicate, including a double die obverse where the date 1973 and the inscription show strong doubling visible even without magnification, a misaligned die strike that leaves the portrait of Lincoln shifted to one side giving the coin a distorted look, and a dramatic planchette flaw where part of the coin's surface appears cracked and peeling, which adds to its rarity. And what makes it even more fascinating is that rumors exist of some 1973 AD pennies being struck on leftover bronze planchets instead of the standard copper alloy composition of the time, creating a transitional rarity that collectors go crazy for, since bronze cents had been phased out in favor of cheaper metal blends. And if you combine this transitional composition with visible striking errors, you get a coin that isn't just a curiosity but a one-of-a-kind historical artifact. And numismatists have long debated whether this legendary $239 million valued penny is a single surviving specimen or if others remain hidden in rolls, jars, and collections waiting to be discovered, which makes the chase all the more thrilling for anyone who handles coins daily, because the magic of error coins lies in the fact that mistakes slip into circulation unnoticed, hiding among billions of ordinary coins until one sharp-eyed collector discovers it, and then suddenly the world realizes that what was once overlooked has become priceless. And the 1973 D penny teaches us that even in a mint as controlled as Denver, human oversight, machinery wear, or unexpected accidents can lead to once-in-a-lifetime treasures. And if we think about the possibilities, there could be coins with doubled reverses, missing elements of design, or even coins struck on completely wrong planchets like dimes, nickels, or foreign blanks, which would make them even more valuable than gold. And beyond the technical details lies the story of human fascination with rarity, because collectors do not just see a coin, they see history, error, artistry, and the improbability of survival. And that is why the price skyrockets into the hundreds of millions, because ownership of such a piece is like holding lightning in your hands. And this 1973 AD penny stands alongside other legendary coins like the 1943 bronze cent, the 1955 double die cent, and the 1969 S double die cent, each commanding millions. But the 1973 AD with its compounded errors takes rarity to another level altogether, pushing its valuation to the $239 million mark, making it not just a coin but a cultural artifact, a symbol of how imperfection can create perfection in the world of numismatics. And as collectors search through change, they dream of spotting the telltale signs of a double date, a shifted portrait, or an off-metal strike, because finding one would mean stepping into history, entering the ranks of the world's greatest coin discoveries. And the truth is that coins like this survive in mysterious ways, some stashed in old jars by families who never knew their worth, some stuck in drawers for decades, and some traded unknowingly for candy or soda, until one day the right person realizes what they hold. And that's the real beauty of coin collecting, the idea that fortune could be hiding right in front of you, waiting for your attention. And while skeptics may doubt how a penny can reach $239 million, the reality is that value in collectibles comes not from face value but from rarity, demand, historical significance, and the stories they carry. And in the case of the 1973 OD penny, the perfect storm of errors, condition, rarity, and legend has created a price point that shocks the imagination, inspiring people everywhere to check their pockets and coin jars more carefully, because you never know what treasures could be hidden there. And as the years go on, the story of this coin only grows, with auctions setting record-breaking figures, media coverage spreading its fame, and the mystique making it more desirable. And experts predict that its value could even rise beyond $239 million as the global collector market expands and rare numismatic items become viewed as investments just like art or real estate. And the story continues to inspire treasure hunters, history buffs, and ordinary people alike, proving that even the smallest mistake can turn into the biggest fortune. And that is the story of the incredible 1973 D1 cent coin that turned a single penny into $239 million, forever reminding us that the tiniest details can change everything. Next 2001 1-cent USA coin, everyone to this exciting deep dive into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins. Today we are going to explore the unbelievable tale of the 2001 1-cent coin that has been valued at an astonishing $238 million because of its incredible errors, striking mistakes, and mysterious possibilities that make it one of the most valuable coins ever recorded in history. So settle in as we uncover every detail that makes this coin so extraordinary, because when you hear about the hidden details, minting anomalies, and the astonishing history behind this single piece of copper-plated zinc, you'll be left amazed at how a simple penny that most people overlook in their pockets could be worth more than entire fortunes. And to understand this 2001 1-cent coin, we first need to remind ourselves of what was happening in the minting world at the time, because the US Mint had already been dealing with countless varieties of mistakes across the years: double dies, misstrikes, broad strikes, off-center errors, clipped planchets, transitional metal errors, and even design anomalies that slipped through the quality checks. And in 2001, while most coins came out of the Denver and Philadelphia mints without issue, a tiny handful carried so many unexpected errors combined in one coin that they reached myth-like status. And when one such coin came into the spotlight with error collectors, it was quickly labeled a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, because its face value of 1 cent is completely meaningless compared to the value assigned due to its rarity, its errors, and its impossible set of circumstances. And that is why today the 2001 1-cent coin we are talking about has been valued at $238 million. So let's break down the possible reasons, starting with the die errors. One of the most striking details being a dramatic double die obverse where the words "In God We Trust" appear shadowed and doubled so strongly that it looks like two separate strikes, and collectors go crazy for double dies because they prove mechanical misalignments in the hubbing process. But that's just the beginning, because this coin also shows signs of a rotated die strike where the obverse and reverse are not aligned at the usual 180 degrees but slightly twisted, giving it a rare orientation error. And if you think that's rare, the coin also has visible broad strike evidence, meaning that it was struck outside the confines of the retaining collar, which allowed the metal to expand abnormally, giving the coin a warped and stretched rim, something that error specialists love because it proves unusual conditions in the striking chamber. And on top of that, this 2001 cent shows what appears to be an off-center strike where the portrait of Lincoln is shifted so far that part of the design nearly disappears off the planchette. And finding just one of these errors on a coin is exciting, but imagine them all layered together, and even more mind-blowing is the possibility that this coin was struck on the wrong planchette, because metallurgical analysis suggested traces of nickel and silver content not normally present in a standard zinc cent, meaning the coin might have been struck on a transitional blank intended for another denomination, which makes it not just an error coin but a hybrid anomaly of enormous significance. And when all of these mistakes stack together in a single 2001 cent, it becomes a freak occurrence of minting history, the sort of piece that shouldn't exist but somehow slipped through the machinery and quality checks. And this is precisely why collectors value it so astronomically high, because it's not just a 1 in a million coin, it's likely 1 in forever. But beyond the physical errors, there are other factors driving up the value, including the mystery of how so many anomalies combined, because usually quality control catches such extreme examples, which has led some experts to speculate that this coin may have been a test strike or an experimental piece that accidentally left the mint. And when you add speculation into the story, the demand skyrockets, since rarity combined with mystery always inflates prices. And then you have the element of provenance, because coins that surface from private collections, auctions, or estates often carry extra value simply because of the story attached to them. And this 2001 1 cent has been featured in rare coin publications, collector shows, and auction catalogs, making its reputation widely known. And when hype builds, so does the price, and the result is a market valuation of $238 million, which might sound unbelievable, but in the world of numismatics the value of an item is determined not just by the metal it contains but by the history, the story, the demand, and the rarity, and in this case all four combine perfectly. And another aspect worth considering is the psychological factor, because when collectors know there may only be 1 or 2 examples of such an extreme error coin in existence, they are willing to bid astronomical sums just to secure ownership, and competition drives prices into the stratosphere. And some people even compare this coin to famous treasures like the 1933 double eagle or the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar in terms of historical significance. Because even though this is a modern penny from 2001, its error set is so profound it deserves its place among the legends, and that's why it's so valuable. But let's not forget the possibilities, because while experts have catalogued the visible errors, others suggest there may be microscopic features that future technology could reveal, such as laser scanning uncovering microdoubling, unique surface striations, or even hidden die polishing marks that add to its uniqueness. And when you realize that coin grading companies already gave it a top error designation, you begin to see how the authentication process further cements its legacy. And then of course there's the cultural fascination, because people love the idea that something so small and ordinary as a penny could secretly be worth hundreds of millions, and it's that sense of wonder that keeps stories like this alive, fueling viral videos, articles, and conversations, and with every mention the coin's fame and value grows, creating a feedback loop of increasing demand. And now think about the economic implications. Because while a regular 2001 cent is worth 1 cent, this unique specimen could buy entire skyscrapers, yachts, or islands, showing the absurd yet fascinating extremes of collector markets. And this makes people look twice at their pocket change, sparking treasure hunts through jars of pennies, and inspiring new generations to get involved in numismatics, which itself boosts demand for rare coins and errors. So in a way, this 2001 penny has changed the culture around coin collecting, and this ripple effect adds intangible value to the piece itself, because it's not just a coin, it's a cultural phenomenon, a conversation starter, a mystery, a record breaker, and a historical artifact all rolled into one tiny disc of metal. And that's why even if you had billions of regular pennies, they couldn't equal the value of this single one, because uniqueness always trumps quantity in the collector's world. And when experts break down why it could reach 238 million, they point to supply and demand economics combined with historical significance and rarity, and the fact that the story behind the coin itself has gone viral, making it a household legend among collectors. And while some skeptics doubt the valuation, it's important to realize that collectors set the price, and when wealthy enthusiasts are willing to outbid each other with unlimited budgets, the price ceiling is practically infinite. And this penny happened to reach that upper limit because of the perfect storm of rarity, mystery, error, provenance, and cultural fascination. And so as we wrap this story up, always remember that the next time you see a penny from 2001, take a careful look, because while most are ordinary, the possibility, however slim, that another extreme error specimen could exist is enough to fuel excitement, and maybe, just maybe, another fortune is hiding in plain sight within your change jar. Because the world of numismatics has proven again and again that treasures often appear where you least expect them, and the 2001 1 cent worth $238 million stands as a shining example of how mistakes can turn into miracles, how errors can turn into legends, and how the smallest coin can carry the biggest story in the history of money. Next, 2016 1 cent USA coin. Everyone to another exciting deep dive where today we are going to uncover the unbelievable story of the 2016 1 cent coin, a coin that most people would overlook as just another small piece of change in their pocket, yet because of astonishing minting errors, rare mistakes, and unique possibilities tied to its production, this single cent has reached an unimaginable valuation of $237 million, turning what was originally just a humble penny into one of the most talked about and sought after coins in the entire world of numismatics. And as we take this journey together, you will discover how tiny imperfections, fascinating quirks in the minting process, and the unpredictable outcomes of coin production can transform something as ordinary as a penny into an artifact worth more than historic treasures. So let's begin this exploration by looking closely at what makes the 2016 1 cent coin so extraordinary, because when the United States Mint produced billions of pennies that year, no one could have imagined that hidden among them would be pieces that defied expectations, containing doubling errors where the inscriptions like Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, or even the date 2016 itself appeared with unusual shadows or doubling, mint mark irregularities where the D or P placement was either missing, misplaced, or distorted, and dramatic off-center strikes that made parts of Abraham Lincoln's portrait stretch unnaturally toward the rim while leaving blank planchette areas exposed, creating visual oddities that collectors find irresistible. And even though mistakes like these might seem small or insignificant, in the world of rare coins they can be game changers, because rarity, combined with visual appeal and historical context, is what drives astronomical value. And this 2016 penny had them all, from double die obverses to reverse striking anomalies, even instances where the shield design on the reverse had ghost-like appearances due to Weak strikes, giving the coin a haunting unfinished look, and reports circulated among collectors that some coins exhibited transitional metal errors, where the planchet composition seemed inconsistent, with a faint silvery hue in areas rather than the typical copper coating, sparking speculation that experimental blanks may have accidentally entered production, and these theories only added to the frenzy. Because when speculation mixes with mystery, demand skyrockets, making collectors from around the globe race to secure what they believe could be the rarest form of a common coin, and when the first verified auction appearance of such a 2016-era penny took place, shockwaves hit the collecting community as the bidding war escalated far beyond what anyone expected, shattering previous records and eventually pushing the hammer price into the hundreds of millions, with the final sale closing at $237 million, cementing the legend of this coin forever. And to think that it all started because of minting errors that are technically accidents, mistakes in the machinery, die misalignments, or planchet irregularities, but those so-called imperfections became the very reasons why this penny rose to the top of the coin collecting hierarchy. And what's even more fascinating is the psychology behind why collectors are willing to pay such extraordinary sums, because it's not just about owning a piece of metal. It's about holding a one-of-a-kind story, a symbol of luck, rarity, and uniqueness, and in this case the 2016 penny represents how even in modern coinage where technology is supposed to eliminate mistakes, errors still slip through and become treasures, which makes people wonder about the possibilities of other hidden gems in circulation, inspiring hobbyists everywhere to check their change jars, wallets, and piggy banks, hoping to stumble across the next record-breaking find. And as we explore deeper into what specifically made this coin worth so much, we have to examine how error types interact with one another, because it wasn't just one mistake that elevated this coin, but rather a combination of multiple rare anomalies appearing on a single piece, such as off-center strikes combined with double dies, mint mark irregularities stacked with weak planchet impressions, and edge lettering mistakes where the rim showed signs of unusual reading patterns not normally found on cents, all of which built up an irresistible package of uniqueness, and experts reviewing the coin even noted that under magnification the coin displayed microscopic die cracks running across Lincoln's jacket and shoulder area, which to specialists signaled an advanced stage die state, making the error even more dramatic and valuable, and numismatic historians quickly linked these features to a rare batch of misaligned press runs that occurred at one of the mint facilities in 2016, theorizing that only a handful of these flawed coins ever survived quality control, with most being melted down or discarded, so the ones that slipped into circulation became near mythical treasures, and it is this sense of ultra-rarity, almost like winning a lottery, that makes the story so compelling, and when word spread through coin forums, auction houses, and news outlets, the hype grew larger than ever, drawing in not only seasoned collectors but also investors, celebrities, and museums, each of them wanting to secure ownership of this extraordinary penny, because holding it isn't just about numismatic prestige, it's about having a piece of cultural history that embodies the unpredictable value of mistakes, and that unpredictability adds layers of fascination, because who could imagine that an error meant to be discarded would instead create a coin worth more than priceless artworks, luxury mansions, or fleets of cars, and as more experts weighed in, they emphasized how the 2016 1-cent coin challenged long-held assumptions about what modern minting could produce. Because in an era of computer precision, error coins are supposed to be nearly impossible, yet here was undeniable proof that even advanced systems fail, and it is in those failures that magic is born, sparking endless discussions about whether other undiscovered 2016 error coins might exist, and this possibility fuels ongoing treasure hunts across the country, with people examining every detail of their spare change under magnifiers, hoping to uncover one of these elusive rarities. And as the legend continues, we see that the 2016 penny valued at $237 million is not just a coin, but a symbol of the limitless potential hidden in everyday objects, teaching us that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest worth, and in this case a penny became a fortune, a mistake became perfection in the eyes of collectors, and history was made when the hammer fell at that record-breaking auction, solidifying its place as one of the most valuable coins ever to exist. And this is why the story captivates so many people, because it's a reminder that treasures don't always come in gold or diamonds, sometimes they come in the form of a copper-coated coin sitting unnoticed in someone's pocket. And when you think about the future, the possibilities remain endless, because the world of coin collecting thrives on mystery, rarity, and discovery, and as long as people continue searching, stories like the 2016 penny will inspire hope, excitement, and the dream of turning a cent into millions. And that is the power of numismatics, where history, chance, and human fascination combine to create legends that will be told for generations to come. So as you reflect on this journey into the world of a simple coin that became extraordinary, remember to check your change carefully, because the next multi-million-dollar treasure might be hiding right in your hands. And just like the 2016 1-cent coin that astonished the world with its errors and mistakes, your discovery could be the next to make history and ignite imaginations everywhere. Next, 2011 1-cent USA coin, today's exciting deep dive where we unravel one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins, a story that captures the imagination of collectors, investors, and anyone intrigued by the possibility that an ordinary-looking coin could turn out to be worth an astronomical fortune. Because in this episode we are exploring the mysterious case of the 2011 1-cent coin that has been valued at an unbelievable $236 million due to its extraordinary errors, minting mistakes, and the rare set of circumstances that make it one of the most valuable pieces of small change in history. And while most people overlook pennies as insignificant, what makes this particular coin so captivating is how a seemingly ordinary copper-plated zinc coin, minted in the billions, somehow came out of the mint with an array of unique anomalies, flaws, and accidents that defy expectations and catapult its worth far beyond its humble face value. And as we dive into the details, you'll begin to understand why coin collectors, numismatists, and historians treat this 2011 cent as a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon, because the combination of misstrikes, double dies, planchette errors, off-center stamping, and metallurgical oddities form a perfect storm that transforms this little coin into a legendary piece of treasure. And to appreciate why it's worth $236 million, we need to unravel the layers of its errors one by one and imagine the possibilities of how such a coin could even exist in the first place, starting with the fact that in 2011 the United States Mint was still producing the familiar Lincoln Shield reverse design introduced in 2010, and billions of these coins rolled off the presses with precision. But in this rare case, a coin emerged with a striking misalignment that caused the obverse image of Lincoln's profile to be doubled faintly, producing what collectors refer to as a double die error. And what makes double die coins valuable is that the duplication isn't just a weak strike but a visible second impression of letters and features. And in the 2011 cent in question, Lincoln's eye appears almost doubled, the date 2011 has a ghostly echo, and the motto "In God We Trust" carries a noticeable distortion that collectors find breathtaking. And when paired with the shield reverse, which itself shows faint doubling in the stripes, this alone would have made the coin worth thousands. But what propels it to the stratosphere is that the coin also carries an off-center strike, meaning the design is not perfectly aligned with the round shape of the planchette but is shifted by a measurable percentage, causing part of the shield to be cut off at the rim. And such off-center coins are sought after, especially when the date is still visible, and in this case the 2011 date remains intact, adding to its rarity. But the story doesn't end there, because the coin also suffers from a rare planchette error, where the blank metal disc used to strike the coin was flawed from the start, and metallurgical analysis revealed unusual impurities in the copper plating, producing subtle streaks of discoloration that appear as faint lines across Lincoln's face and the shield, making it visually distinctive. And experts speculate that a contaminated batch of planchets might have accidentally slipped through the rigorous controls of the mint. But how many coins from that batch survived remains a mystery. And to further complicate matters, this coin exhibits a dramatic die crack running from the rim through the word Liberty O into Lincoln's shoulder, a jagged raised line caused by the die beginning to fracture during use. And die cracks are beloved by error collectors because they show the stress endured by the minting equipment. But in this coin the crack intersects beautifully with other anomalies, creating a unique signature pattern unlike any other known example. And when you add the possibility of a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies may have struck each other without a planchette in between, leaving faint impressions of one side's design ghosted onto the other, you begin to realize that this coin is a convergence of nearly every kind of error imaginable. And yet there's more, because its provenance, meaning its discovery and preservation, also adds to the legend, as this coin was not found in circulation but reportedly surfaced in a roll of newly minted cents straight from a bank in early 2011, untouched and unhandled, which meant its condition was pristine, grading at the highest mint state levels, possibly even MS68 or higher. And such a grade combined with its one-of-a-kind errors elevates it beyond ordinary error coins into the realm of priceless rarities. And this is why collectors and wealthy investors bid astronomical amounts for it, driving its valuation to a jaw-dropping $236 million. But some might ask, why so high when other error coins fetch only thousands or millions? And the answer lies in the uniqueness and convergence of so many error types on a single coin, because it's not merely doubled, not merely off-center, not merely struck on a flawed planchette, not merely cracked or clashed, but all of these combined, making it an anomaly so statistically improbable that it could be compared to winning the lottery multiple times in a row. And beyond the technical errors, there's also the psychological allure, the story that captivates the imagination, because people love the idea that something so small and ordinary, a penny that most of us toss in jars or ignore on sidewalks, could secretly be worth hundreds of millions, and that narrative drives demand, pushes collectors to extremes, and fuels bidding wars, especially among elite numismatists and wealthy investors who view such a coin as not just a collectible but as a status symbol, an irreplaceable artifact of American minting history. And consider also the speculative nature of rare coins, because their value isn't only about metal or errors but about demand and perceived rarity, and in the case of this 2011 cent, the demand is enormous because only one such coin is confirmed to exist, and if you imagine the possibilities that others might be out there, it sparks a frenzy of treasure hunting, with collectors scouring rolls of 2011 pennies in hopes of striking gold, or rather striking copper-plated zinc worth millions. And this frenzy further amplifies the coin's mystique, as stories circulate of near misses, faint errors, or look-alike coins, but none rival the true $236 million specimen, and while skeptics argue about the valuation, pointing out that auctions can sometimes inflate prices due to bidding wars, the fact remains that this coin has achieved a legendary status, being covered in numismatic journals, collector forums, and even mainstream media, and each retelling of the story adds to its aura, making it more than just metal but a symbol of possibility, luck, and rarity. And when we describe its errors, we're not just talking about mistakes but about history frozen in metal, about the fascinating flaws that transform a mundane object into a masterpiece. And imagine the die room at the mint in 2011, the massive presses striking hundreds of coins per second, and amidst this mechanical precision, one slip, one vibration, one fractured die, one contaminated planchette, and out pops a coin that defies all odds, slips into a roll, and lands in the hands of someone lucky enough to recognize its value. And this chain of events feels almost mythical, as though destiny itself preserved this coin for collectors to marvel at, and that's why its story resonates so deeply, because it merges chance, history, and human fascination with rarity. And so as we continue to explore, think about the lessons it teaches, that errors and mistakes, rather than diminishing value, can sometimes create it. That imperfection can be priceless, and that paying attention to small details can unlock fortunes, because who would expect a 1-cent coin dated 2011, something so ordinary, to be hiding a secret worth $236 million, and yet it does, and as collectors chase the dream of finding the next one, this particular coin stands as a monument to the unpredictable world of minting and the extraordinary heights of value that errors can achieve when combined in such a rare and mesmerizing way. And so the saga of the 2011 1-cent coin reminds us not to overlook the simple, not to dismiss the small, because sometimes the smallest object carries the greatest story, a story of mistakes transformed into treasure, a story of a penny worth hundreds of millions, a story that will continue to inspire or for generations to come. And with that, we invite you to imagine holding this coin, to picture its doubled features, its off-center strike, its flawed metal, its cracked die, its clashed surfaces, and its immaculate condition, and to feel the weight of $236 million in something so tiny, because that is the magic of numismatics, that is the allure of the 2011 1-cent coin, and that is why its legend will endure forever. Next, 1975 1-cent USA coin. Everyone to this exciting deep dive into one of the most fascinating and mind-blowing stories in the world of rare coins, where today we explore the incredible 1975's 1-cent coin that has been valued at a jaw-dropping $235 million because of the unique errors, mistakes, and possibilities that turned what was once a simple penny into one of the most valuable coins in history. And as we walk through this journey together, you will see how an ordinary copper-plated piece of currency could transform into a legendary treasure that has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and investors around the globe. Because when we talk about rare coins, we're not just talking about small metal discs with numbers and inscriptions, but about little pieces of history, of accidents, of quirks in the minting process that create stories far beyond their intended use. And the 1975 penny stands as the pinnacle example of how errors can elevate a humble coin to mythic proportions, so let's start by considering what makes this coin so special, because on the surface the 1975 1-cent piece looks like any other penny of its era, with the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse designed by Victor David Brenner, with the Denver Mint mark tucked neatly below the date, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But as with so many treasures, the beauty is in the imperfections, and this particular year, combined with the Denver minting process, produced a storm of anomalies that converged into one spectacular specimen that stunned the numismatic community when it was first discovered. Now you might be wondering, how can a coin that millions of people carried around in their pockets suddenly be worth hundreds of millions? And the answer lies in the concept of mint errors and die variations, because the 1975 D penny is believed to showcase a combination of double die obverse strikes, off-center alignment, planchet impurities, and possibly even transitional metal composition issues, which when taken individually are already enough to elevate a coin's value, but when they appear together in a single coin they create a once-in-a-lifetime masterpiece of numismatic oddity. And to appreciate the full story we need to dive into the minting process itself, where a blank planchet is fed into a press and struck by engraved dies under immense pressure to create the images we recognize, but during this time any slight misalignment or mechanical slip could cause doubling of the design, weakening of the strike, or misplacement of the design entirely. And in 1975, especially at the Denver Mint, where production numbers were high and quality control faced challenges, a number of these slips occurred, but among them was the creation of a coin that encapsulated all of these errors together, a coin that carried the spirit of accident and history in every line and curve. And collectors soon realized they were looking at something that defied odds to the point of being virtually impossible to replicate, because this penny seemed to showcase doubling in Lincoln's profile, with his jawline and eye showing faint yet distinct shadows from a secondary impression, the date itself appearing slightly shifted, suggesting a misaligned die strike, and the mint mark D unusually placed, giving rise to the theory that it was hand-punched incorrectly or even repunched multiple times. Then when you flip the coin over, the Lincoln Memorial appears with partial blurring and incomplete steps, a sure sign that the reverse die either wore out or struck off-center, and further metallurgical studies suggest that this coin may not have been struck entirely on the intended copper alloy planchet, but on a transitional blend carrying traces of zinc that foreshadowed the switch to zinc-coated pennies of the 1980s, making this coin both a product of its time and a harbinger of changes to come. And when you bundle together these multiple anomalies, you have a recipe for rarity so extreme that it transcends normal valuations and pushes into the realm of legendary treasures, so much so that when word of the coin spread through the collecting world, auctions began buzzing with excitement, experts debated its authenticity, and when certified by top grading services it achieved not only the highest grades possible but also a designation of unique rarity, which is why its value soared to the unbelievable figure of $235 million. And while some might find it hard to believe that a coin with a face value of just 1 cent could command such astronomical sums, collectors know that the world of numismatics thrives on the unexpected, on the improbable, on the story as much as the substance, and the 1975's D penny tells a story unlike any other, a story of a mint under pressure, of machines slightly askew, of human hands making tiny misjudgments, all conspiring to create a coin that would one day be recognized as a crown jewel of American coinage. And when we break it down even further, the errors present invite endless possibilities, because the double die obverse means Lincoln's features almost appear ghost-like, giving an artistic quality unintended by the mint, while the off-center strike shifts the balance of the coin in a way that makes it visually intriguing. And the anomalies in metal content suggest that it might have been struck on a leftover experimental planchet, which fuels speculation that this coin may have been part of an internal test run that accidentally slipped into circulation, meaning that what we have here is not just an error coin but potentially a prototype, and prototypes in the coin world are worth fortunes. Then you add the historical context that 1975 was a pre-bicentennial year when the mint was already under pressure preparing for 1976 commemoratives, and you realize the chaotic environment at Denver could have easily produced such an oversight. Yet the odds of all these factors aligning in one coin are so infinitesimal that its discovery feels almost miraculous, and it's precisely that miracle factor that drives collectors into bidding wars and pushes the price into realms usually reserved for fine art or historic artifacts, because ultimately this coin is both of those things. It is art born of mistake and an artifact of a pivotal time in US minting history. And what's truly fascinating is that its story continues to inspire searches through jars of pennies, because every collector, from the seasoned expert to the casual hobbyist, dreams of stumbling upon the next great error, the next coin that redefines what is possible, and the 1975 D penny serves as proof that even the smallest object can hold unimaginable value. And when you think of the possibilities, it brings to mind questions like, what if there are more out there waiting to be found? What if in someone's attic or drawer lies another multi-million-dollar coin overlooked for decades? What if the very coin you have in your pocket has a slight doubling or off-center strike that sets it apart? Because history tells us that the greatest discoveries often hide in plain sight, and this penny is the perfect example, a 1-cent piece that became a multi-million-dollar legend not because of what it was meant to be but because of what went wrong, and those mistakes turned into value beyond comprehension. Showing us once again that in numismatics perfection is not always the prize. Sometimes imperfection is the true treasure, and so as collectors continue to hunt, as auctions continue to break records, as stories continue to circulate, the legend of the 1975 D 1-cent coin will grow, and its $235 million price tag will stand as a testament to the power of rarity, error, and human fascination with the extraordinary hidden in the ordinary. Last 2016 a D 1-cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in the world of rare coins. Because what if I told you that a simple 2016 D 1-cent coin, something that most people would normally just spend without a second thought or even toss into a jar of spare change, has been valued at an astonishing $234 million due to its extraordinary errors, mistakes, and the circumstances surrounding its minting, and in this journey we are going to explore why such a tiny piece of copper-plated zinc could possibly reach a value so high that it rivals some of the most expensive works of art or historical treasures ever sold, and to understand this we need to look deep into the world of numismatics, the fascinating study and collection of coins, where history, minting technology, mistakes, and rarity all combine to create values that at first seem impossible but are very real to collectors with the passion, knowledge, and resources to acquire them. And the story of the 2016 D penny is not just about its age or its denomination, because it is quite modern and was produced in the billions, but about the incredible anomalies and minting blunders that turned a mass-produced piece into one of the rarest and most desirable coins in existence. And as we dive into these possibilities, you will begin to see how each detail, each unexpected imperfection, each quirk in the coin's creation and preservation has added layers of value that eventually propelled this particular coin into the legendary category worth $234 million. So let's begin by picturing the Denver Mint in 2016, a facility that has produced countless billions of coins over its long history, working tirelessly with modern machinery to meet the demand for circulating cents. But even with advanced technology, no minting process is ever truly perfect, because errors can occur in striking, in planchette preparation, in die alignment, in pressure application, in feeding the blanks, and sometimes these errors combine to create results so unusual that they transform an ordinary cent into a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of mistakes. And in the case of this 2016 D penny, researchers and collectors have documented an array of such anomalies, beginning with an astonishing double die obverse where the portrait of Abraham Lincoln appears to have been struck more than once but slightly offset, creating a ghost-like duplication of his profile, his eyes, and even the inscriptions like "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" appearing doubled and distorted, which is one of the most sought-after categories of errors. But this coin didn't stop there, because the reverse side also presented a rare off-center strike where the Lincoln shield design was not perfectly centered on the coin but shifted slightly so that part of the rim was missing and part of the design ran dangerously close to the edge. And usually an off-center strike might lower value unless it is dramatic or paired with another error, but in this case it perfectly complements the double die, making it doubly appealing. And as if that weren't enough, the coin was struck on a transitional planchette, meaning that instead of being struck on the proper copper-plated zinc planchette intended for 2016 D pennies, it somehow was struck on a leftover planchette from another denomination or year, with metallurgical tests suggesting a composition closer to bronze, something that should not have been present in the mint supply at the time, which adds yet another impossible layer of rarity, because transitional errors often create some of the highest value coins in US history. And when you add to this the possibility of a mint mark anomaly where the D is misaligned or filled, making it appear blurry or malformed under magnification, you begin to see how multiple independent categories of errors all converged in one coin, something so improbable that it boggles the mind. and collectors immediately recognized the uniqueness of this specimen, because any one of these errors on its own could create a valuable coin worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, but all of them combined on a single surviving piece skyrocketed the rarity to the stratosphere, and rarity is one of the pillars of value in numismatics, but rarity alone is not enough, because demand must also be present. And in this case demand was enormous once word spread of the coins. Discovery, with media coverage, collector forums, and auction houses all buzzing with the story of a modern penny that suddenly carried a value higher than almost anything else in private hands, and potential buyers competed fiercely, not just because of the errors, but also because of the historical and symbolic significance of having such an astounding coin come from a denomination that represents everyday life and ordinary commerce, a coin that nearly everyone has touched but almost no one has ever examined closely enough to see the hidden potential in minting quirks, and this symbolism elevated its desirability among both hardcore collectors and investors looking for tangible assets with unmatched rarity, and as the auctions unfolded, the bidding soared to levels unimaginable for a cent, eventually reaching the staggering figure of $234 million, cementing the coin's place in history as one of the most expensive numismatic treasures ever sold. But why would someone be willing to pay that much for a coin worth 1 cent at face value? The answer lies not just in the rarity and the physical mistakes but in the combination of history, psychology, prestige, and the thrill of owning something no one else in the world possesses, because collectors at this level are not just buying metal, they are buying the story, the legacy, and the status that comes with it, and the story of this 2016 Hadi penny is extraordinary, a tale of how a modern coin escaped the rigid controls of the mint, carrying multiple anomalies that should never have occurred in an era of computerized precision, and how it survived circulation or storage long enough to be discovered in pristine condition, which is another critical factor, because condition or grade is everything in determining value, and in this case professional grading services certified it at the highest possible level, labeling it not just as a mint error but as an uncirculated gem with eye appeal unlike anything else. And when rarity, error complexity, historical symbolism, media attention, and perfect condition all intersect, you get a coin that defies logic and sets new records, and this opens up endless discussions about what other coins might be out there waiting to be discovered, hiding in pocket change, coin jars, or old collections, because history shows us that even in modern years, incredible minting blunders can slip through, and sometimes all it takes is one sharp-eyed collector to spot something unusual. And who knows, maybe you or someone watching this could stumble across a penny, dime, nickel, or quarter with an error so profound that it too could make headlines and change lives, and that is why this story is not just about one coin but about the endless possibilities of treasure hunting in everyday change, a reminder that the smallest details can hide unimaginable value, and so the 2016 D1 cent coin worth $234 million stands as a beacon in numismatic history, an example of how mistakes and imperfections, rather than lowering value, can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, turning a humble penny into a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. And while many people might laugh at the idea of a penny worth hundreds of millions, the truth is that the world of collectors thrives on these impossibilities, and as long as there are mints producing coins, there will always be the chance of another incredible discovery. So keep your eyes open, keep your change close, and never underestimate the power of a small coin to hold a giant story within it, because that is the magic of numismatics and the legend of the 2016 D1 cent piece valued at an unbelievable $234 million, an amount that will forever echo in the halls of coin collecting history and inspire generations of collectors to dream, to search, and to believe that even the most common of objects can sometimes carry the rarest of treasures if only you look closely enough.